us as manufacturers, some of you as raw material suppliers, and really everybody in this room, I mean, if it wasn't for contractors like the group we have here, we wouldn't be here. It's really, to me, without any disrespect to the other speakers, really one of the most important talks I think today, and really why we're all here. So I was happy to fill in for Heidi and go over this. So we have a great panel list today. I'm going to introduce and say their names, but they're going to be able to introduce themselves and talk about them. But from K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, we have Sean Morgan from Dallas, Texas. From Thomas Roofing, we have Lisa Irby from Mobile, Alabama. From JD Miles Roofing, we have Ray Kuykendall from the Virginia area. And then also from Fife, Washington, from Chinook Roofing, we have Alan Browning. And apparently maybe Chuck was on a flight from with Heidi or something like that, but he was unable to be here right now, so I apologize for that one here. So I'm going to bring each one of them up and just kind of ask them to kind of introduce themselves, and I should have kind of went by the names here, going through the slides here. You see the faces here, but we'll just go ahead and go to the first part where they get a chance to introduce themselves. As you introduce yourself, if you kind of think again, we're talking coatings, we're all coatings people here. If you could kind of share how coatings are a part of your model of your business today. If you want to talk about maybe how that's changed, that'd be great too. Give us a little more clarity. What type of coatings you prefer, maybe why not? Things or materials or technologies that you feel comfortable with. And then kind of from an overall perspective, what's the percentage of coatings relative to the rest of your business as well? And then lastly, you talked about the coatings that you do on an everyday basis. Those are probably the ones you prefer, but if you have some other kind of explanation or maybe something you do like to do, maybe why that coating technology means something to you. So I'll let you guys talk and give your own opinion. But I'll go ahead and start with you. So if you want to.
Sure. K-Post is out of Dallas. We have one location. We do between $70 and $80 million a year in revenue. Out of that, about $4 to $5 million would be roof coatings, which falls under my division, which is coatings and waterproofing. It's about a $10 to $15 million division each year. We do a lot of silicones now. Dallas used to be a huge acrylic market, but it has switched to more of a silicone market, and we use a lot of silicones just basically because it saves us a lot of labor. It goes down in one application typically, and my guys like spraying silicone, so that's typically what we use.
Percentage of coatings as part of your business.
Well, like I said, we about $4 to $5 million each year will be coatings out of our 70 to 80 million in revenue. So past that, there's other things we're going to talk about, but that's what K-Post is about.
Okay, so well, thank you. Lisa?
We're in Mobile, Alabama, which is the lowest part of Alabama you can go. It's constantly wet there. We rain from May to usually September every year, every afternoon. So we primarily do silicone. Urethane silicone's a really strong application of what we do. Very few acrylics anymore, and we spray as well. It's probably a third of my business. I'm about $6 million for the company. We're about a 20 million company, so we're not big like these guys, and I run a full-time in-house coating crew.
Do you prefer to spray or
Yes.
roll?
We spray 90% of our jobs.
Okay.
The only time we won't spray typically if it's a condo without high walls and there's a lot of wind, or for a car dealership.
Okay. All good points, sir. Roy, how about you? How are coatings fit in your business model?
I'm Ray.
I'm sorry, Ray.
With JD Miles. We're in Chesapeake, Virginia. Been there since 1910. Things are going well. As far as coatings, we kind of use it more in the service department for repairs, and then push the coatings as a cost-saving alternate to the owners as opposed to re-roofing. And I personally prefer silicone.
Okay,
And that's pretty much what we do. And we do, in our area, we do have some spec-driven coding systems, with the school boards, the cities, that tends to be a trend code problem.
okay. Great, thank you. How about you, Alan?
Alan Browning, out of Seattle area, work for Chinook Roofing. Let's see, we're due about, the goal is about 33 million this year. Waterproofing and roof coating service is just around, we'll be close to 3.5 of that this year, doing all those scopes together. Roof coatings, as a part of that, is probably, maybe 25% of that volume. And kind of a lot of what we see is kind of what was said earlier, spec-driven work, there with working with consultants. So, we'll install systems kind of driven by the consultant a lot of times, at least in my field. And that can be anything from PMAs to urethane systems, silicones, that kind of thing. Most they tend to like reinforced assemblies where we're at, so we do a lot of that as well. Let's see, what was the other part? I guess that's it. Thanks.
How about the numbers as well? Thank you.
Yeah, great.
You're spraying those?
We do spray some, yes.
Some? So
Some.
rest is all, so it's
Yes.
just a mix of.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question, when we're talking about coatings, and as manufacturers, we always think our coatings are the best, but obviously, as a roofing contractor, you do your homework, you just don't pull something off the shelf. If you could kind of go through maybe what are your protocols, if it's not spec-driven and it's something that you're progressively selling on your own, what are your protocols for maybe selecting the type of coating and chemistry?
Sure.
I'll go back to you, Sean.
In North Texas, single ply is kind of king when it comes to roofing, so most of our coating jobs are negotiated work. And I use what my guys like to use. If that guy on the spray tip likes what he's doing and he's confident with what he's spraying, that's what I use. And that comes from relationships. We have a couple of manufacturers in town who spend a lot of time with us, spend a lot of time with our guys. They have local technical representation, which is a huge deal, because they can be on that job with my guys with just a phone call. So that protocol is pretty simple for me. It's whatever the guys in the field like, because they're the ones putting the material down. If they don't like the material, they don't have confidence in it, we're not gonna have a good job. So that's how we do it.
No, that's great, great. How about you, Lisa?
Basically, we look at the roof, decide what's best for the owner. Restaurants, of course, we're gonna sell silicone. We can sell, a sprayed silicone system, that's most of the time what we are gonna do. We like the urethane coats, a lot of times we have seen that silicones can have issues, blistering and stuff like that. So we usually will sell a 2-ply with the urethane and silicone system. That way it's easier to maintain. But for the most part, I think for us, and the reason why we mainly do silicone systems is our weather. It's always hot, our humidity is 105 today with 100% humidity. So if you're trying to install an acrylic today, it would be tough. So with that being said, we kind of have only a few things that we do sell, and we do sell a lot of PMMA systems. So if we've got people that have walk spaces that they want to protect, so we do sell a lot of those as well. So silicone and PMMA is probably our most popular, and typically it's for whatever they want to use the roof for. If it's a restaurant, something like that, or there's a lot of movement, we'll use butyls and stuff like that. It just depends on each roof as to how we make our decision.
Okay, excellent. So we got installers who help us with our decisions. The roof itself talks to us and tells us what it needs. What are your thoughts on that, Ray? How do you decide?
Obviously looking at the roof and the conditions, what's best for the owner, we make our decision on what type of coating should be best for that application. And as far as the manufacturer choice, we have 2 in our area, that, gentleman said, is relationship driven, with guys that are just deeply rooted with technical knowledge. They're there to support you, and that goes from the manufacturer to the distributor. They know the products in and out, and it's available. You don't have to wait. You just go pick up your product and go to work.
Excellent, excellent. All right. How about you, Alan?
I'd say, again, a lot of what we do can be spec driven, so that'll determine, a large percentage of the coding work we do. Outside of that, I would say relationship and, technical support is huge. We can work with a manufacturer who will come in, offer training or certifications to our team and support us on the projects. That helps us differentiate between other contractors that may be bidding on projects. It gives us an advantage we can offer us. NDL warranties, things like that. So it's really all about that relationship. And of course, I think evaluating the roof assembly itself and its condition is another huge thing. Weather for us, like all of us, plays a factor. You know, you've got a short window and uncertain weather conditions where we are. So a lot of those things factor in.
All right, I think they're all pretty much things that we kind of thought, but it's nice to hear out of your mouth, and maybe there's some other things in there too that we don't always think about as a manufacturer. You know, we've been in the industry around for a long time, and we've gotten a little more popular lately, but, you know, there's always been, in talking with some contractors, concerns, like you had, Lisa, with maybe, you know, the weather and some technologies. I'll go ahead and start with Alan and come down this way, kind of switch it up a little bit. What are some of your largest concerns with coatings?
My largest concern, I think, is improperly installed coatings, right? So somebody who installs a coating in an application where it shouldn't be, not evaluating the assembly, maybe not taking time to do infrared scanning on an insulated roof assembly or whatever, so we get a failure. Or potentially unqualified installers out there that we would be competing against, so the system can't perform the way it's designed. I guess that's my answer.
Thank you. How about you, Ray?
My concerns are the same as his. The applicator, I'd add into that the good tech support from the manufacturer's rep is always key. Because without those guys, you just don't get answers.
Do you rely on a lot of training?
Yeah, we have,
from the manufacturers?
Yeah, we have in-house training where the tech reps will come out and, you know, we'll do it during a safety meeting or after a safety meeting, and do hands-on training, serve lunch, and let the guys, you know, get involved and make sure they're doing things the right way.
Okay.
And of course, another concern is, just like Lisa said, the weather. Nothing worse than putting down some coating and here comes the rain.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lisa, do you have any other concerns maybe that are different than what we've heard so far?
For us, I think you have to invest in the right equipment for the right job. If you don't have the right equipment, you're not gonna get the quality job, and a lot of the warranties that I sell, I've got the first leg of it. So with that being said, if something's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong in the beginning, not usually in the end. We do certify, we have a 4-man team that does nothing but coatings, and we certify them, and they are, the only ones on the roof. So I know the job's gonna be done properly, and they have the right equipment, and it's investment. I mean, I've got a coating trailer with probably $70,000 worth of equipment in it. And it stays locked up, and no one goes and gets anything out of it, so our jobs are done right.
Absolutely, and they're held responsible for everything in there.
That is true.
That's great, that's great. How about you, Sean?
Just kind of echoing what the rest of the people said, the black eye we get immediately if it's installed incorrectly, and that's from installers that maybe are not familiar with coatings and trying to get into the business. So for us, it's important for manufacturers to have certified installers that are trained and know how to do this. Because it's a science, it's an art, there's a lot to it. And you get two guys in the truck up there spraying a roof, and next thing you know, there's a black eye on the market. So yeah, the certified installer to us is a huge deal.
Yeah, I've always thought of myself is, if you relate it to roofing, that if a bad roof install for whatever reason goes down, it's just kind of a one-off thing. When a coating application goes bad, it's not just one coating manufacturer a lot of times, it's the whole coating industry. And it's something I think we all have to overcome, so I think.
Yeah, for us, a large number of our customers are multi-facility owners. 25% of our business is healthcare, so these hospitals. We put down one bad coating, and it doesn't take long for it to spread throughout that whole company. The coating's bad, and all they did was paint the roof. You hear that a lot, so.
Yeah, it's a stigma we always
It's a
try to
big deal.
overcome. Yes. Thank you. I think some of those, what we just asked there were also challenges, but maybe there's some other challenges that weren't related right then to actually coatings. Maybe there's something else. Is there any other challenges that you've had with kind of turning the business on to doing more coatings or trying to do more coatings that are kind of a different challenge than what you've seen in the past? And, you know, you have some thoughts on it,
Some of the manufacturers have come out with their proprietary spray equipment that you have to buy to spray their coating. That's a challenge because a lot of times those pumps are 18 to 20 grand, and I can get a Graco 900 for less than that. So those are challenges from manufacturers that they require a specific pump, and I know what they're trying to do. It's revenue for them, but that's difficult, and again, just trying to get away from the reputation that you're painting the roof, and those are things that we could use help with, specifically with consultants. That's where a lot of our work comes from. It's usually not a GC driven specification or architectural driven specification, but that's an interesting question. There's a lot to it, so.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing some of that. Yeah, absolutely. Consultants and overcoming the preconceived notion or thought that I'm just painting the roof. That's something maybe we kind of forget when you're sitting in the room sometimes, that we have that challenge every day to talk about. Yeah. How about you, Lisa?
100% agree with him. I mean, you're doing a roof system. It's a warrantable system, and it's hard to make an educated person understand that. So for us, we give them samples, we try to, help them as much as we can, but they still wanna see the price to replace the roof. A lot of times I'll win because I'm so much, cheaper than the replacement. But I think the biggest challenge is two things: weather and people being educated on what you're trying to sell. So we give a lot of documentation out.
Oh, good. How about you, Ray? Challenges?
I got two. I'll add on to what Sean was saying. A lot of times you'll see on private work where painters come in and they're the roofer now. And that's what you get is a painted roof and not a reinforced multiple system. And then the second thing, I don't know if it's really a challenge, to me, maybe it's a challenge for the manufacturers to get what architects to get in the specifications with your product to be a warrantable system, whether like he does hospitals or could be school system. We do see that from one manufacturer in our area. I think there's room for more manufacturers to get involved and offer savings to the city or county for the coding system.
Okay. If everybody could kind of move their mics a little bit closer to them too. I can hear you fine, I'm close, but I'm just wondering if some people back there. Thank you.
Could you repeat what you just said?
As far as getting, manufacturers in front of architects and getting your product specified to compete with, other coating manufacturers that are in the spec to provide a warrantable roof system. We just don't see it in our area specified, and I think there's room for that.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted by all of us here in the crowd.
Can you just repeat what you last said again? I just missed the last part of the sentence.
There's plenty of room to be in the specifications, for a roof coating system as an alternative to provide, whether it be the city, the county, hospitals with a warrantable roof system.
Yeah, Ray's saying that he doesn't see as many coating specifications in his area, and there's a need for it. So he's telling us manufacturers to get your people out there and talk to these consultants, because there's room in it. Building owners want to know about that option, but they want to feel comfortable with it as well, and consultants help drive that, so we need to get out there and
So
talk
you're
to
talking
them.
about it as an alternative to putting on a new roof, to have a spec for also.
As an alternative, well, I see in our area that they are installing new roofs and then following right behind coating it as well. It seems like it would make sense to wait 10 years to coat it, but they just put the coat right on top of the new roof. So that's one challenge. But to add on to getting specified, make sure it's specified by a certified roofing contractor.
Great, great. Okay, Alan, how about your thoughts on that?
Everybody's done such a good job, I'm trying to think of what I could add to that. I think that, for me, I think kind of taking that, one step further, so there's the specification component of it, where a lot of times the coating will be a VE option, right? But there is, inherent, sometimes repairs that need to be done to get that manufacturer's warranty, and I think, from a manufacturer's side, or maybe even, on the consulting end, making that more transparent to the building owner, so they understand what it's gonna take sometimes maybe to get that warranty, whether that be tearing the assembly apart, replacing insulation, all that good stuff. So we'll run into challenges on that when we get on a project, let's say, and we've gotta, tear the roof apart and all that to make it a good installation or warrantable installation. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, I think we run those challenges too. When a building owner talks of coding, they just kind of think it's gonna be quick, done, simple, and it's gonna be in and out, but there's a lot of prep involved that they don't always realize. As we all know, that's really the most important step of a coding application, is the prep and cleaning. When we give talks as a company, and I'm sure every, coating manufacturer here, we've done some, there's been changes in the past few years. We all know about product shortages. Some of those have been very helpful for us as coating manufacturers to bring some new alternatives and get people to listen who maybe weren't so involved in coatings, but I wanted to see, and I'll start with you again at the end, Alan, and start with you.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with material shortages, involving, I guess, the whole business, and how maybe coatings has helped out with that?
I think it's given us, I can think of a couple projects specifically where we've given a coating as an option just because of what, the duration it would take for us to get the material to do the re-roof. So we've been able to, kind of flip some projects to coatings just specifically because of that. That's been about it.
Oh, great, thank you. How about you, Ray?
Same, but, I'll add in that when, the supply chain shortage first hit, it was tough for us to get a roll of strip tape, rather be TPO, EPDM, it was just hard to get any product. And we pretty much made an immediate switch to start making repairs with coating, silicones and fleet and fabric. It was like an overnight change, cause you couldn't get the product. So, and again, with re-roofing, materials being 6-9 months out for TPO, ISO, screw, it was a quick option to switch over to alternate coating as an alternative system.
Yeah, I've heard that quite a bit. Yeah, I probably will hear very similar reactions here. How about you, Lisa?
Same thing, pretty much. We've always, if the roof is viable still, we've always given a coating option as a secondary. You can't get the roof, get what you can. So, for us, we try to give our owners plenty of opportunities to at least bite off on one thing, so.
Have the owners been receptive to that, or you've had to do a little education on that side?
We give samples, so, we go in and actually present to the owner. We'll actually give samples of the roof composition and the coating system, so, when they come to put their hands on it and touch it, it's an amazing thing. And, the manufacturer we primarily use gives us samples, so we've created our own samples of roofing. Just so they see what the ISO insulation is, the TPO, the cover board, depending on whose system it is. So that's been helpful, but also, not having it be a shortage was great for me, because, like I said, we did a bunch of condos due to Hurricane Sally, and we were able to go in and repair, not major repair, maybe 10% of the roof. We were able to get our hands on those materials. We actually have it in our own warehouse. We stock everything. We do not return off of a project anymore. If there's something that comes in that stays in we built a new building just for that. And so we were able to actually flip those projects, just like he said, over to coatings, and keep the customer.
Oh, wow, okay. How about you, Sean? How's K-Post managed material shortages?
Ditto. Yeah, we've had the opportunity to flip a lot of jobs to coating. But what we did that made it a little bit different is we did a little bit of a roadshow. I took myself, one of our manufacturers that's a good partner with us, and my chief estimator, and one of the sales guys, and we went to our top 12 customers and did a presentation on them about coatings and talked about the supply chain issues on the roofing side, where things were 9 to 12 months out. And this is an alternative. This is a 20-year alternative, and it went really well. We're also fortunate in Texas that the state of Texas still considers roof coatings a maintenance item. So that means that's 100% tax deductible to the owner the year they do it. So they're not amortizing that over 39 years like a re-roof. So that's a huge advantage for us, and it's allowed us to flip a lot of opportunities to coating opportunities. But we also had to train our sales team. We have 6 outside salespeople, so I spent a lot of time with them, just training them on coating systems, how to sell it, and if I'm available, I go with them on every call. So that's maybe something a little bit different.
Excellent,
Get back
excellent.
to the maintenance, we work 4 states, Florida through Louisiana, and only 2 of those require permits. So it's nice that you don't even have to pull a permit because you're painting a roof. Yeah, it's a maintenance item. They classify it painting the roof, so you do not have to pull a permit.
Great, great. Well, everybody in this room is,
We have a couple questions.
everybody in this room is thankful that we're, you know, you've gone to use coatings more in your business. And we hope as these shortages lessen and you can get other roofing materials, that you still consider coatings as a viable option for that. I have a few slides, but you know what? I have a coating. We'll go ahead and ask some questions too. We do have a microphone, I think, somewhere. So Dan's coming around.
Dan's got it in the back. Here you go.
Yeah. So we'll get that to you and allow you, Brett, to answer some here.
Plain Oprah.
I see Brett right there.
You mentioned that just with the maintenance versus, you talked about maintenance and it's easy to get, you don't have to get a permit, you just go up and paint the roof. And we don't want to paint roofs.
Hey, silence.
Alright, I'll talk loud. You mentioned both, painting the roof is bad, but painting the roof is good at the same time. Is there a balance that's, can you think of a balance that's would be ideal for that as far as specifications and those types of things?
Well, even in our area, if it's, a spec that's put out and we still do not have to pull a permit. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's an architect's involved or not, or if it's just a negotiated job. You do not pull permits. The only way you pull a permit is if we were getting into replacing the parapet cap, or, or coping or something like that, or tearing out anything. And typically, they're not gonna ride by to know if you're replacing 10% of the roof because of moisture. And typically, you're gonna replace some of the roof because the reason why you're on the roof is because it's been leaking. So with that being said, permits are very seldom ever pulled. I think I've pulled, in my area, maybe 1. But out of state area, I've pulling quite often, so.
Somebody else, go
So
ahead.
I had a follow-up question. So this is obviously presented our industry an opportunity because of the shortage of single ply to give us that ability to go out to the marketplace and create value to the building owner. How sustainable is that once the shortage is over in terms of the supply chain issues with single ply? How do we leverage this opportunity to say, hey, we've opened people's eyes to the value of coatings, or will contractors and the building owners and our specifiers go back to the old thinking of single ply specifications, and how can we as an industry help leverage this opportunity?
The key word you said there was value, and with the price increases we're seeing from the manufacturer side on the coatings, that gap is narrowing from a re-roof to a coating. It used to be quite a large gap, and I don't want to say an easy sell, but an easier sell to flip them to a coating. But with the price of silicones and everything getting up to $100 a gallon now that I've seen, that gap is narrowing, so that value is shrinking as well. But we'll see as the supply chain is already getting better on the single ply side. We're already seeing it in North Texas. There's allocations happening now, but with the size of our company, we get a pretty sizable allocation each month, which is nice, but we're already seeing that value kind of shrink. And the habits of our sales team reverting back to what they're used to and what's easy for them. So I think manufacturers and distributors visiting us, reminding us about the values of coatings, out of sight, out of mind. You know, so the guys we partner with are the guys that are in our office every week, every other week, seeing us. The guys that come by once a quarter, it's nice to see them and they bring donuts, that's great, but there's not that value, right? So the value part is 100% correct. Sorry, I got sales guys calling me right now. Hopefully it's coming, that'd be awesome. So the value part, like you said, is the most important. That's a key word, what you said. We have to maintain that value.
And I'm gonna add this, 07 and 08 coatings made a showing. When the economy was real bad, we sold more roof coatings that year, those 2 years, and really stepped up in 07 and 08. I personally think they're on the market right now. I think the systems are being sold properly. I don't think that they will go down any, because now the materials are available via TPOs, single ply, mod bits, whatever. I honestly think coatings are here to stay, and I think with the systems that are put out there now, it's an easy sell. You can offer a 20-year warranty, for goodness sakes, for a third of the price. Who would not bite off on that? They're a true monolithic system, whereas most systems are not.
Good points, good points. You guys have any thoughts?
I'll just add that to add value, put some value on the contractor, to be a certified applicator, and maybe eliminate the guys that are not certified applicators that wind up giving the coating manufacturers a black eye.
Yeah, just push the mic up a little bit.
I'm saying, put some value in the contractor that's supplying your product, make sure they are properly trained, certified, and installing a warrantable system, and maybe eliminate those installers that are not certified, and perhaps not putting down a quality problem.
So continue to rely on your certified installers, to keep that level of coating expertise in the market will help continue and progress coatings.
Yeah, I would just echo what everybody else said. I think the key is the relationship between the manufacturer and the applicator, and continue to develop that. I think the systems have come a long way. And I think just continuing those types of things will help sustain the coatings in the marketplace.
Yeah, excellent. Any other questions out there?
Yeah, I heard, I think what we all heard here was one of the drivers that determines what coatings you guys use is familiarity. What the guys are comfortable with, what they're confident about applying. It might not necessarily be easy, but they're confident that they know what they're putting down works. Other times it probably is ease of use. They don't have to use as many guys to put the thing down. So 2020, invention the necessity is the mother of invention. So 2020 taught us to do different things with different things. So new things with different things. So one of the questions I have is are you open to new technologies that are out there? I know you guys are familiar with what you're using, but if new products came along, are they more willing to try it, or we just want to keep doing what we're familiar with? Or is there an openness to get out and maybe try something different?
Oh, 100%. We embrace it.
I'm not gonna tell you what those are yet, but yeah.
No, we embrace new technology 100%. We used to do a lot of a certain manufacturer, and then a new manufacturer came in and showed us some things. I don't know if I can name names, but we're now using the majority of what we do is with this certain manufacturer. But keep in mind that this new technology comes with training, correct?
Absolutely.
And what I don't need to do is fly my 60 coding guys to California for training. I need you to come to Dallas and show me how to do it there. I can't take 60 guys out of the field for 3 days. That kills me. So that's important.
100%.
Anybody else want to answer anything?
As a contractor, we're always open to try new things, particularly if it's going to improve the market, the quality of the product, and the productivity.
Yeah, I agree. We're open.
I had a question on, in terms of restoration of the many different types of existing roof substrates, and Obviously, there's very many. Are there some that are a little bit more concerning, a little bit more difficult? And which ones might that be? You know, you have a lot of different single plies and mod bid, all kinds of different types of substrates. What do you think is the greatest challenge?
Built up with
Why?
gravel.
Built up with gravel?
Sure, you gotta flood coat it with an emulsion first. You're adding a couple steps of labor and material there.
And sometimes you have to be careful on metal roofs, because if they expand and contract too much, you fall the roof. And then you're putting a TPO system over it, if you don't catch that going in, you've got to know where to install them.
Any other challenges on roofs you see out there? And without naming manufacturers of anything in particular, more of a system level, any other ones that kind of scare you, or just know if we coat this and this, I'm good. If this one here, I really want to be part of this job, because I gotta make sure this is done or a certain step.
I feel if we're not comfortable with it, we're not gonna install it to begin with.
And existing aluminum roof coatings from back in the day, a lot of times those are very difficult. So they pose a lot of challenges.
Good point. Good point. All right.
Hey Chris, real quick question. So I like Sean's, one of your comments that you made about getting proactively out to your customers to do training around the use of coatings. Is there anything for any of you guys that the RCMA as an organization can provide in terms of a training tool on the use of coatings in your industry?
Any presentations you guys have that talk about the advantages of coatings, it would be great for us. You know, we'll include it in our presentation. A lot of the presentation is something I put together, so anything you guys have, absolutely.
How do we communicate that to you?
Through your local reps or even the local distributors too. We have really good relationships with our local distributors.
We actually make videos of installs. And the manufacturer we primarily use actually posts them on their page for any of their new people that are coming in, or new contractors that are coming in, and then they'll send them usually to us, and I have to train. Cause I'm a certified installer as well, even though I'm not typically out on the roof. But I just know the products well enough. I attend their academies, they do 2 a year, and they show our videos at every one of them. So a lot of people come up and go, you do this and you do that, wow, you know, how'd you get there? And we're like, I'm not gonna give you all my secrets, because you could be my competition, but, anything like that, because our company's there, we can show it to the owners that we're presenting to, and here's the sample of what we're actually, you know, quoting to you, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, I would just echo that. I think, any information we could use for training purposes for sales staff and all, in our market, because we are primarily a single ply market, so anything we can do to kind of help the sales force feel comfortable selling coatings would be huge.
Come on into the office and do hands-on training.
Yeah, to that training, a lot of times we think training, we're thinking of maybe the group on the roof, actually, you know, the foreman and the people there, but is it equally as important to have the estimators and the salespeople trained up as well to understand, or even more?
If you can't estimate it, you don't need to be selling. That's the way I look at it. I don't need for my manufacturer to estimate my job for me. If I don't know the logistics of the system, then my company would not be installing it, because that is open to us. They're like, just give me your square footage and everything, you got all your details, and we'll figure it for you. I'm like, why would I do that? But that's what's happening currently with a lot of contractors coming on board. And these are the problems that we're finding with going behind them. Is they don't know what they're selling. If you don't know what you're selling, you're not selling quality.
Good point. Another question?
Chris, I had a question. Sanjay Luthra with RCMA. We are an acrylic emulsion supplier. So I hear a lot of silicones being used more in the industry. So I guess my question was, do you switch between silicones and waterborne acrylics in case of shortages or price differences? What's the primary reasons you use one or the other? And my first time at RCMA, so apologize if it's a well-known fact in the industry why one versus the other. That'd be nice to know. Thanks.
That's a great question. So why do you just like roofing, and we've had shortages on maybe some of the new install side with coatings, you put all your eggs in one chemistry basket, or do you kind of, you know, anybody have any thoughts on that? Or like to comment.
Depends on the roof.
Yeah.
The roof system, we still do a lot of acrylics, especially on metal, cause there's inherent slope already. Acrylics need slope, and so we still do a lot, and we're bidding a job right now for a large school district that we're doing 17 different schools that is all acrylic. So it's spec driven, and to me, it's the type of roof that we're going for.
For us, it's weather. Weather is challenging for us. Like I said, we rain from May 1 to September 3rd. And so, and a lot of times we rain the other part of the year as well. So we usually get about 2-3 months that we can install acrylic. So any systems we have sold, we're busting them out at that point in time. So we've swapped over to a lot more silicone, even spray metal roofs. And we just add granules along the perimeter for slippage and put signs up. We have signs that we put that this, be careful. It's a silicone coating, could be slippery, just to protect the owner and ourselves.
Very nice, very nice. Any other comments on the chemistries you guys use?
I agree that the roof conditions and the specifications pretty much drive the problem.
It's regional too, it's based on where you're in the country. I know, in my past life, for 12 years, I was a rep for a couple of coating companies. In the Southwest, Arizona said they still use a ton of acrylics, just because they don't have any rain. In North Texas, we haven't had rain in 6 weeks, so I think it's regional too, depending on where you're in the country.
Yeah, I would say that would be a driver for us up in Seattle, is it's acrylics just take too long to cure for us a lot of the year, so we would lean more towards a silicone or something that way, so.
Thank you.
Got a question on labor. Where do you get your labor force, and how do you incentivize them to stay in the roofing business?
Ours is in-house, and what we do is we quote, actually, my installer, is also the estimator now. I've gotten totally out of estimating. So with that being said, I make him go look at the project. He's gonna decide what's the best system for the project, after talking with the owner also to see what they can afford. And then he puts the price together. So his deal is him and 3 guys. Doesn't matter if it's 2,000 squares or 20 squares, it's him. Well, sometimes it's just 2 of them at 20 squares. But, what he does is when we do the estimate, we pay them hourly. Whatever's left in the job is theirs 100%. And so we actually make good money on coatings because they bring them in under, they're getting better and better and better bringing them in under, and we still have the same quality. Because for him, he has 3 that are less than 80 out of 100, then he loses his certification. So he makes sure that certification is kept.
We're a little bit different. We have a separate sales team that hands it off to an estimating team, and then that team hands it off to an operations team. Just like her, though, all of our installers are in-house and they're trained. And we haven't had a problem with turnover, really. I can't think of any coatings crews, at least. There's about 60 guys that do coatings, that we've had any turnover in the last 2-3 years.
That's great.
Yeah, we haven't had an issue with retention. I would say training is the key though, is just having your crews understand the systems and the details and all that. But I think if you're investing in your team, they're apt to stay with you. So I think that's it, just spending that money on the front end with them.
We're pretty much the same. We do all the estimating in-house, self-perform, and we don't have any turnover. We'd like to get more new guys, but we keep the guys we have.
Talking about labor and coatings and new roofing, do you find it's easier to put a crew together for coating, and you're able to work a little more efficiently, or how does that change
We
for
keep
you?
the same guys. Yeah, I do, if it's a larger job and they ask for help, we just did one that was like 1,800 squares, and he said, can I get a couple extra guys, help pressure wash and do the details, and I was like, as long as you're gonna supervise them, I'm okay with that. But for the most part, we operate in a 4-man team, and we do enough to where that 4-man team just stays, that's all they do.
Okay. Okay.
Do you guys find a different demographic would be, in regards to age, would be more apt to switch to coatings, like a younger crew, being willing to make that change, old dog, new tricks kind of deal?
The customer or the crews we're using?
Your crews that you're using.
My crew's older.
Yeah, most of mine are older guys, older crews.
I think, well, are you guys like everyone, every facet of the construction industry, having the same issues, you know, potentially having those older guys inching near retirement age without anybody?
Well, sure, I mean, workforce attrition is all across construction, it's not just in coding.
So you're up to a backfill?
Yes, yeah, and I would think that, I guess in my mind, in a lot of this, the crews that I've seen, at least with coding crews, a lot of them tend to be younger, and I was wondering if it's just easier to bring some of those guys in if it's a coding job, just out of curiosity.
It's, the guy on the spray tip is the most important guy, right?
Yeah.
And training a new guy on the spray tip is very difficult. What I've got is a gentleman who's in his late 50s, but his son has come in on his crew, and he's training his son. We're a largely Latino workforce in Texas, obviously. So yes, we're seeing some younger guys come in, but I rely on the senior guys on the crew to train them, because spraying is an art, and you can make a roof look really bad really quick. So I don't know if that's an interesting question.
Well, I run the service department as well as doing coding. So for us, I have a lot of younger people right now, and we hire men and women. It doesn't matter to us. And our selling point is, if you train somebody to do a trade and you can set them free and put them in a truck, you get $500. I've got about 3 guys right now. They go through people like every 2 years, and they put people in a truck. So all my trucks that I have running now are from our original trucks, when I started with 1, then I went to 2, and now I'm at 12. And they're all in-house people, and some of them are younger, and some have asked to get involved in coding. My youngest coding guy is 28, so it's kind of a mixed bag of tricks. I've got a 40-year-old, 2 50-year-olds, and a 28-year-old. So hopefully what will happen is that 28-year-old steps up, and as some of these come off, he takes those positions, but all 4 of them are certified.
So it was an incentive program of sorts to, monetary is really what it comes down to. Okay.
Pretty much, yes.
Well, our coding guys are considered artisans in our company, and we pay them as such, so.
Yeah.
We also have a large Hispanic workforce, and just like Sean was saying, the children from the father are coming into the system, and they're learning and moving right up the ladder. And we also have an incentive program, where if you bring an employee in, and they stay for a certain amount of time, you get paid, and that continues every 6 months. Every 6 months they stay, you get more money in your pocket.
I would say it's, for us, it would be just that training, and it's really individual based on the person, right? Somebody may have an aptitude for running that sprayer, because it is an art thing. So some people really pick up on it. We've been pretty fortunate that way, so we have been able to integrate some younger folks into that. But I think sometimes a younger crew can be more open to change. If you're talking about a new assembly or something that way, I think that can be, you know, that maybe they're not stuck in maybe the way they used to do something. Like, so I think sometimes that can be a benefit. But, you know, it's just what we see.
Interesting. Well, Jeremy?
I want to bring up a term that's been used a couple times, and that's spec, right? Spec-driven related work, things like that. I think it's kind of an elusive term in the restoration and coatings industry, right? So I guess, Alan, you brought it up a couple times that you guys do a lot of spec-driven work, and I'm trying to figure out, or I guess my question is, where are you finding those jobs? A lot of us spend a ton of time training, teaching, educating consultants, architects, and specifiers. We all have business development programs that we're all trying adamantly to try to get into those specs and grow those programs. And I guess, where are you finding success in that? Where are you finding those spec-driven jobs?
Yeah, I think we've been really fortunate, as we were a roofing company to start with, and so we developed relationships with consultants, and they would kind of look at us as a resource on roofing projects. So as we've been able to develop the coating and waterproofing side of that, they've taken us on that way, so we'll be involved kind of in that initial part. That's been helpful in that, so they'll call you out on job walks maybe that aren't open to everybody, things like that, so they're able to kind of get involved that way.
And what we see in our area is the same thing. It's a spec-driven project where the installer has to be certified by the manufacturer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
And your manufacturer should be the one actually trying to get in the spec.
Yeah.
That should not have to come through us. We do mention it sometimes, hey, have you considered a coating in lieu of this, because this is still a viable roof? And the company that we primarily work with, their rep, she's a go-getter. She got in, Alabama Power, which is, when I say tough, the Southern Company does not like to change. And we are now doing all their wall coatings with silicone. We're spraying silicone on the walls at Alabama Powers in all of the whole state of Alabama, and it's about to go over to Florida and Mississippi. But she went in and fought for it, and she did not give up.
You know, the consultants are the ones where the specifications come, like, so we don't typically see architects or GCs with specs for coatings, but how often are you guys or manufacturers bringing consultants in to have this kind of roundtable or training for them? I mean, that's how you're gonna get in with those guys. If you had a panel of those consultants up here, you'd be asking a lot of these same questions, and you might be surprised what you hear. I don't know, maybe y'all do, I'm not sure.
That's this afternoon. We have a design panel.
Oh, excellent, okay.
Yeah, absolutely, it's the holy grail that Jeremy's asking for. We're always, it's very elusive, but you know, they're always saying you need to be spec, and I've heard it for 20+ years myself, and finding, you know, consultants that are open to coatings is a challenge. They're out there, but for every 10 you find to do new roofing, you may find one that's done some coating, and you still have to convince them how viable it is. So I appreciate the question, thank you. Anybody else?
I just have one more question here, and then we'll keep going. We do have some more time at the end. We always get a lot of questions for this panel, so just one more, and then if you want to keep going, then we'll leave some more room towards the end.
Sure.
So when applying coatings, how often do you find that reinforcement is used with coatings?
Very little, very little.
It depends on the assembly too. Over built up and stuff like that, we typically do a lot of reinforced, but over single ply. And in North Texas, you know, our roof gets held out on average every 7 years. So a lot of our coatings are hail restorations, which the building probably isn't leaking. We just did a 4,000 square hospital where it wasn't leaking, but they got hail money. So, you know, that's non-reinforced. Most of your single ply are non-reinforced, and the majority of your metals are non-reinforced. So, y'all see a lot of reinforced?
Not a whole lot, with PMMAs, yeah.
Yes, for sure.
But not just your typical coating.
Yeah, I would say that, like you said, urethane system, over asphalt, you'll see a lot of reinforced systems, PMMAs, some PMMAs, things like that. That's fine.
If a manufacturer requires reinforcement, is there maybe a hesitation to do that because there's that additional step?
The cost impact,
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Cost of labor.
Yeah.
Plus I find the jobs aren't as good, because we don't do enough of them, so.
Takes a little bit more skill and training to get that fabric to make sure it lays right.
And the beautiful thing about coatings, you wanna get on and off of them quick. You wanna do them and be able to go to the next one. So if you're having to back up and do a 3-course, then you're losing another job that's already on the books. Produce a product that doesn't require fabric is my attitude.
Even if in so doing improves the warranty.
I can get a 20-year with no fabric right now. So, now, like PMMA systems, of course, there are certain systems, and my coating guys can do the PMMAs. They do all liquid applied system is what they're trained for. But yeah, we prefer a non-fabric system.
Is this a true statement? I'd like to ask. We always hear as coating manufacturers that if you're doing coating work versus new installation, that I can get more work done, more square footage, complete build, and I'm using less people to do it. Is that
1,000%.
Is that
1,000%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can do 4 jobs compared to 1 tier place, and they can be the same size jobs.
So strictly from a financial standpoint, it sounds like coatings would be better than new roofing.
Oh, my company loves that I sell.
You
the
do it all
coatings,
day.
Yeah, that I do because it's quick checks, it's quick money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Much better margins typically.
Mhm.
Ring margins.
Well, that here, I try to get contractors on board with some of this stuff too, because that's my background as a contractor, so your liability ratio with, your liability is obviously higher than your variable cost of your labor, your fixed cost of your materials, and a lot less labor on the coating side, so that kind of makes sense though. I was just, trying to get some of the contractors to switch over from that because it's my background. As we loved, like traffic coding jobs, just because your liability ratio, all of that is in your labor, materials, or your fixed costs. So trying to get them on board with, making that ratio more 50-50 versus, 30-70, which is probably closer. I don't know what that number would be for like a tear out with a conventional roof. But yeah, it's definitely the way to go.
I'll add, it also minimizes your exposure to weather when you're doing a full tear off, or even an overlay versus the coating.
All right, I'm gonna continue on, and I think right now, we can answer some questions later on as we go. Some of the ones we have are coatings, a lot of times are related to service departments. Maybe the service department came first, and then the coating after, or the coating came first and service. How do they play a role in your company? I'm assuming you take part in both.
I'm the service department manager, so I sell preventative maintenance that turns into coating systems. 90% of our work is negotiated. Our coating work is negotiated. And it's because I've had boots on the roofs for years.
Yeah, and that puts you in a better position when maybe they do need a roof on there at some point. You're the last one there, you've been servicing it. That's things we always hear. It's nice to hear the validation that it is a true statement on that.
Yeah, our service department, those are the guys that keep the material in stock all the time, right? They've always got buckets in their truck. Our 21 service trucks always have roof coating and repair material in their trucks, whereas our projects crews, we're waiting on material that we've ordered, because we're not gonna typically stock an entire job of roof coating until we're ready to start, just because I wanna pay the inventory tax on carrying it.
Yeah, we do a lot of biannual service maintenance, so those generally turn into a coating or re-roof job. It's something that we negotiate together as the life expectancy of the roof retires.
Yeah, I would just echo all that. I think that what the service does is obviously we do a lot of coding work as part of our service department, fast cure coatings for repairs and things that way. You're developing that relationship, so you're the first person they think of when it comes to roof coating or re-roofing that way, so it's a huge component.
So you use it to solve a problem, and therefore you're the one they go to after you solve the problem with that coating.
Ideally, yeah, ideally.
Great. Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand. I imagine if you're called to do a repair or some maintenance, you kind of say, well, listen, I'm here doing this. If I kind of did more of a coating restoration system, maybe it was going to prolong this, and kind of leads right into it.
And we do an evaluation of the roof system while we're there, so if we're there to a service call, we'll give them a free evaluation of the roof at that time, so that's a segue into potential coating project.
That's exactly what we do.
Off topic, but same question, do you find it challenging to qualify a roof for a coating application, or is it pretty easy based on your experience and just, the system
Pretty
that's
easy.
out there?
Having a simple conversation with the owner is a good start. If they've had leads, we test cut their little de-moisture scans. If we find 30% or less moisture, then we cut out and replace that and coat. And we give them an option for a re-roof, or tear out the 30 and do a recover with one roof.
Especially if they're trying to sell that building. Cause here I'm gonna give you a 20-year transferable warranty that's 100% tax deductible to you right now when I do it. So that's a pretty easy sell.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of, you talked about warranties, that kind of comes into the next question. Do you, I guess, the way Heidi had it phrased here, do you utilize the warranties as a big selling of the coatings? Do you find you have to do that? Or is that kind of a conversation only if it's brought up, or, how do you go to market with that, with the coatings and the warranties?
That's so easy. If you can sell a job that's a third of price of replacement, and it can come with the same type warranty, a 20-year, we do anywhere from 10 to 20 depending on the roof. But we also do a transfer, basically at the end of the warranty term, our manufacturer will come in and inspect, and we'll say, another gallon or 2 gallons per square, we'll do a 10-year extension. So they're still at a third of a price of replacing a roof, and they've gotten 30 years out of it. That's an easy sell, a very easy sell. Plus we get to maintain the roof through the process of it, so we're still on the roof, making money on the roof after it's been installed.
With no reinforcement.
No reinforcement.
Okay. I'm writing that in there.
Very good.
Can you break down that 30% savings, or this, what portion of it is labor, what portion of it is material, what portion of it is the cost of disposal? Can you break it down into?
Very low cost of disposal, so that's the beauty of it, is you don't typically have to have equipment. It just depends, if you're gonna roll it, you're gonna have equipment, if you're not gonna roll it, you don't need equipment. Labor is probably, the labor's probably the most expensive part of it, so. I would think it's probably 60% of the.
Yeah, the majority is labor.
Yeah.
60% of the savings.
So just kind of repeat, the question was, where does the savings come from doing a roof coating application versus re-roofing? And they were saying the majority of it is the labor portion of it. We're saving quite a bit there.
It's a 4-man coating crew opposed to a 12-man re-roof crew.
And if you can
That's
do it
the
in 5
majority of
days
it.
versus 3 weeks, there you go.
Plus you have to buy all the material. Conventional roofers.
And we're more green than a re-roof because we're not putting anything in the landfill. That's an easy sell too.
Right, yes. All those good things we all talk about all the time. Thank you. Right. One of the questions we have, and I think we kind of touched upon this, and we talked about training a lot, but as far as manufacturers out here helping to improve your business, is there anything else that we haven't discussed so far? I know the training we hit hard, we know that. Anything else as manufacturers that we can do to help support you all in selling coatings?
Lead generation programs.
Say again?
Lead generation programs. I run 4. I run one each state.
After consultant specs, lead generation is the second holy grail item, I think.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I would say, staying involved with, I'm hearing you say consultants again, so sorry about that. But, staying involved with them, on projects, things that way, and then, for us, just because of where we are geographically, any, new technology which was brought up that has fast cure, so we can kind of get in between weather windows, things like that would be huge for probably all of us, but I don't care about me, so.
At least you're being honest.
Sorry, is that too much? I apologize.
It's 109 in Dallas right now. We're trying to slow our coatings down.
Yeah, I know.
We're kicking too fast.
Okay, we kind of got through all the pre kind of thought out comments there. Does anybody else have any last questions as we kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, so for both the acrylic and silicone coatings, post installation, say a few years down the road, what are some common issues or complaints that you guys see for both of those, and what do you do to tackle those?
With silicone, it's the how much dirt it attracts. But that's part of the chemistry. I mean, I don't know how you eliminate that other than we offer to power wash their roof once a year.
I was gonna say, if you power wash within the first 6 months, you usually can stop that static. The tanning of the silicone is probably our biggest complaint.
Yeah.
It starts bright white, tans. They feel like they're not getting the energy savings even though they are, so. And acrylics for us, I think our biggest complaint is if they have HVACs up on the roof, and it, starts dissipating the coating because it's constantly running water. So what we've done now is we now go in and coat with the silicone around the units where the drainage is, and to eliminate that. That bit me a few times, so.
You learn from experience.
From experience. I've also bought an MRI machine pressure washing the roof, so we do have a caveat in there that we are not responsible for any damage due to leaks on pressure washing the roof. Because they're not gonna be honest with you about everything they've got going on.
Good point. Good point.
I agree that with the dirt after install, it's the same with TPO PVC membrane, that's going with dirt.
So you've accepted it as part of it's the nature of the beast is what it is, and you've offset, it's a complaint that it's something that happens and you're willing to work with it yet.
You have to consider the environment. If you're doing a roof that's somewhere near where they're handling cold, and cold dust is in the air, it's
Right.
gonna turn the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Total.
But we do offer it in one of our qualifications is after, within 6 months of install, pressure washing it and to help with that. And it's an additional cost. If they choose to do it, they choose to do it. If not, don't call me because you may have, because your roof is dirty and tan. Because it will stay lighter and not tan off as bad if you wash it within the first 6 months.
And we sell that as well. We call it an umbrella program where we come out twice a year and do free inspection and maintenance and power wash the roof. But it is a cost each year.
Excellent, excellent. More, go ahead,
So
Jordan.
I represent a raw material supplier to a lot of the coating manufacturers. So in my corner of the world, we talk a lot about sustainability. So and we're talking in the context of feedstocks and raw materials and that sort of thing. But in your part of the value chain, does sustainability come up, and how do you have that conversation?
Well, I think she's touched on it, that coatings are very sustainable. It's becoming more and more accepted. You still have the you're painting the roof attitude out there, but I think it's becoming more and more accepted as we educate the industry and the markets that we're in.
If you can offer the same warranty with a monolithic system as you can with a tear off and replace or even a recover, I think that's your sustainability. So you have to put the right system on the right roof and make sure that 20 years is gonna actually be there and not fail.
It's hard to compete with yourself though. You know, we're largely a single ply company, and so we compete with ourselves a lot, and so it's difficult.
We're roofers that install coating.
Right.
We're not
Right.
we're not a coating company, so that's the difference too. And we look at a roof, we don't go out and say, oh, this roof's in failure mode, let's go ahead and coat it. You've got to know that coatings are great, but if you don't do the details in the coating, then you just sold a piece of crap. And that is on you and the manufacturer that you repped. So you've got to know that going in, that the roof has to be in a coatable situation.
Going off of what George said, have disposal costs escalated so much that it's made it more advantageous to try to keep that roof that's in decent shape?
You wanna try to catch it before it's in failure mode, so.
Well, not only the disposal, but the labor to take it off and put it back on. That's a big help.
Just a quick question. So with the coatings, obviously, they're produced in the field by a contractor versus a factory membrane. So what are some of the methods that you might do just to ensure that the overall coverage thickness is uniform throughout the assembly?
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, just what are some of the check things or things you do to ensure good coverage throughout?
Wet mill gauges
Yeah.
and
Wet
dry
mill
mill
gauges?
gauges.
Yeah, the question was, how do they assure quality assurance in the field during a coating application?
And all
Right.
4 of my guys know what application they're doing, whether it's a 10 or 20, what their wet mills.
Yeah, and we require daily reports from our foreman. It's a standard form they fill out at the end of each day where they have to show us a wet mill gauge each hour. But we've also done where we will go off and tape off 100 square foot square, or whatever that 5-gallon pail is supposed to cover, we will rope that off and say this pail covers that. It's part of training, but there's different ways to do that. But our data reports are huge, not for just making sure we're getting the correct coverage, but it protects K-Post risk with a customer later on, or with a consultant who says, you know, you weren't here this day, and we can pull that data report and say, well, it was raining, here's the weather report of that day, and here's the report from my superintendent. For us, it's the data reports and the hourly wet mill gauge checks.
If you do the same job every day, you're gonna know what you're doing. Just like I would put that crew going to tear off a roof because it's not gonna be the same quality. I'm gonna take that tear off crew and get them to coat. That's all these guys do. There's 4 of them. That's what they do, 5 days a week.
And if you run short or have a lot of leftover material, there's something wrong.
But we also require that manufacturer be on site when we start, and at least twice during the job and at the end, just to ensure that our guys are doing what they expect, because you guys' expectations is what we're trying to meet.
I think just to echo, the key is I think daily logs are huge. Wet mill checking is huge. Gridding out the roof system so you know what your coverage rates are. I mean, if you're getting to the end of a job and you're you got a pallet of material sitting there, you got a problem. So we don't want to be in that situation. That's, you know, So I think, just as you're going through the job, those daily checks, hourly checks, however you're choosing to do that, and document is the thing, so.
We allow 2 cans of each product bag, that's it. If they come in with more than that, then we're going out there and checking it.
Excellent.
Sorry, one more question, we can stay on time, but I know we can, what is the weather lunch back there? I think, yes. Where you wanna go, Mike?
Yeah.
So my name is Carol Ford, and I'm on the local chapter of the National Women in Roofing for the Charlotte metro area. And so, you know, our charter is to mentor, attract, educate, and network to pull more women into the roofing industry. It's a very lucrative industry. You mentioned that workforce attrition is a concern of yours, and so I was just wondering what the percentages of women for your skilled workforce. And the second question is, do you have any suggestions for us to try to, reach out to that community and attract them to the business, to the industry?
Did everybody hear that? Okay, what percentage of your workforce is women, and what do you think are some good ways to attract women into the roofing industry?
I only have 2.
Skilled applicants.
Yeah, I only have 2 women that are on my coating crews. One of them is one of my spray. And she's fantastic, and I don't think it's sexist to say that women are gonna be more detailed and more of an artisan when it comes to spraying. She's fantastic. Workforce attrition is real. I listened to a guy from the University of Arizona, I can't remember his name, we were at a user summit for ABC, and he said, for the first time since 1880, that's post-Civil War, more males between the age of 25 and 32 are living at home with their parents than with a spouse. And the average age of a construction worker in the US right now is 47. So attracting women to our business has to be a focus. Now, how we do that, I don't know. How do you make construction sexy? And how do you make it attractive to a younger generation, especially to a female audience? I have no idea.
Well, out of 24 people, I have 3 women. 1 runs a truck and 2 are helpers. So I don't have as much as I like, but in our estimating division, we do not have 1 single man that does estimating. So our girls go and get on the roof, they do their test cuts, they do everything. The only thing they do not do is carry a ladder, because we don't want the injury portion of it. So we have one of the sales guys go and throw the ladder up and stuff like that. So, and I think for us and how we've attracted the people we have, I think it's a bit of an attitude in the company. They walk through our doors and they see that we are 90% women in the office. And they're like, oh, I don't mind being here. As far as the workforce, we typically will stick. If somebody comes in and says, we'll pay you for a week if you wanna ride a truck and see if this is what you wanna do. And we'll stick them in with the crew that has the female in it. And it does help that female is sitting there, or stick them in with a female lead, and that female is saying, this is a good job. But it's not for everybody. I mean, when I was in college, if you told me that I was going to be in roofing, I told you you were crazy. And I've been in roofing, working on April will be 32 years. So with that being said, I think it's just about the company atmosphere. And if you can get them in with a female that's doing the job, then it's a sell.
That sounds great. Have a good mentor in the company. Yeah. Any other thoughts or any ideas?
Our company is half woman, and I know she pushes through skill trade academies and education avenues to get more women involved. I'm not sure what the sell is to get them involved, but I would love to have them, because I've been saying for 20, 30 years, just like you said, that women are more detail oriented. I would love to have nothing but women detail oriented service crews. That's a sell every time, a winner every time. So the young lady brought up the question, if you have women that are interested, send them to 210 B Street.
Also, our people that mainly are flashing are women, just because they're more detail oriented.
Yeah, and I think as the construction industry's been changing as a whole, I think that we're like everybody said, we're all looking for talent, you know, and so I think that we're, at least I can speak for our company, we're trying to build an environment that's inclusive. So if, you know, we would love to see more women out in the field. We have a lot of estimators and run directors of our steep slope department and all those kind of things, so we've really done a good job there. We'd like to see more women in the field, so wherever that would be.
All right, thank you. As we end this, I'd like to say thank you to our panel for taking all of our questions and answering them. It's great to hear your feedback. We really do put a lot of value in it. If we could give a round of applause for our panel. Thank you. I'll give the microphone back to Dan here.
I know we can probably continue this probably another 45 minutes. Thank you, everybody. Again, appreciate it. We'll be looking forward to having folks come back again. We'll do this. We actually really enjoy this. If you've noticed, this our kind of our track session. The morning is going to be our contractors. Up next, after our break, will be McKay Daniels from RCMA. So, and then the afternoon, as I mentioned, our roofing consultants with our design panel. And then tomorrow will be our technical and government affairs. So kind of trying to follow track here. So again, we're gonna take about a 10-minute break instead of 15-minute break before we bring up McKay. So coffee is still back in the next room. Thank you.
Gotta get up.
We are one and, you know, 2 steps
I saw you guys had your job, so I was watching the game. We were on the phone. We were on the phone. It's all set up. I know, he got stuff, it's like, there was always like everything, right? Trying to sign up, so, yeah, I would probably just, yeah, you can, oh, you have my email, right click on it, on the bottom. Yeah, just right click on the, time now. Oh, okay. Is that it? Yeah, we don't want to.